Hello and welcome to Thrive with Flexibility, an in-depth look at preferences and settings. I'm Helene Coppell, your TrackSmart Product Manager, and joining us today is Alex Duran, TrackSmart Guru and Customer Success Champion. Let me give you a quick background on why we decided to do this webinar. A few months back, we held what's called a usability study, where we surveyed a large number of our members to ask them how they use TrackSmart and what they liked, what improvements or new features they'd like to see, and their overall thoughts. Then from there, we held viewing sessions to watch some of them use our apps, administrators, supervisors, and managers, and employees using attendance, scheduling, and TimeClock. This helped us learn what people found easy to do and what tripped them up. Often, the things tripping them were the same things the customer success team gets phone calls about, and they could easily be solved by simply changing a setting. So that brings us to today. We thought it would be a good idea to walk you through all the available settings and preferences, as they're called in attendance, so that you can make TrackSmart work best for your specific business needs. So, before we get started, let's take care of some housekeeping. If you've got any questions during the presentation, enter them into the chat box on the left side of your screen, and we'll answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. Should you have sound issues, please be aware that the audio is dependent on the stability of your internet connection. If you have any trouble hearing us, please send a message through chat and we'll help you out. One more thing, we'll also email a link to the recording of this webinar within the next couple of days, so if you miss anything, you'll have another chance to catch it. So, we are about to get into TrackSmart Attendance preferences and TrackSmart scheduling and TimeClock settings. That's pretty much our agenda. We will tour all your available preferences on attendance and all the settings on scheduling and TimeClock, and then I'll give you, well, it's not in here, but I'll talk a little bit about support and customer success, our customer success team, and then we'll have our live Q&A session. So first things first, now for the preferences, I am going to have Alex take the reins, and he will go through our preferences for TrackSmart Attendance.
Hi, everybody. Like Helene said, my name is Alex. You might have spoken to me over the phone before or received some of my emails answering some of your questions that you had. Today we're going to go ahead and speak about the preferences and attendance. Get started. Once you log into your account, your preferences is located on the top right-hand corner. By clicking preferences, it'll take you to the preferences page you see here. Our first preference that we're going to do today is our absence codes. Here, with your plan, you may choose any combinations of absence codes to create your personal list that appears on the calendar. Remember, this list of absence codes or reasons codes will appear on your absence that you're going to create, and also on your employee self-service time off request.
And the number of absence codes you get is related to the plan you use.
Here's an example of how an absence entry will look like for the administrator. On the left, you'll see that the administrator will enter the employee's name and select their reason. The reasons are your absence code that you have created. That you have selected. I'm sorry about that. Also, on the right-hand side, you'll see the employee's self-service, how they'll select a reason code or the absence code that you selected. You see how they match. The next preference that we're going to set up is our event codes. With your plan, you may choose any combination of event codes to create your personal list that appears on the calendar. If you want to remind everybody about a certain birthday, you check the birthday and anniversary, or if your company is closed because of weather, or just because it's closed for some XYZ reason, here you will want to select that so it will appear as an event on your calendar. An example on the calendar, if you take a look on the calendar on December 30th, there is a company event there. It's highlighted as a purple. That is the color code for an event. On the right-hand side, you'll see that as an admin, I can go ahead and enter a company event by selecting all employees, company event. The reason, the company is being closed today. And of course, when I go ahead and enter the date, I have also the option to add hours to timesheets. Our next preference is our time settings. These time settings are defined how time is displayed in the absence entries, timesheets, calendar summaries, and reports. Now we do get questions saying, hey, I want to track my employees' hours by hours or time by either days or hours. Where here's where you change those settings. Now mind you that what you're looking at now is a default settings that we provide for you. Of course we do know that in your company it may be different. You may track your employees' time by days or by hours. Your default work hours in a day may not be 8. It might be more than that or it might be less. Here's an example when you click on your employee's profile and select the Time Off Plans tab. If you look at the red highlighted square, you'll see that on the top right-hand corner of the time bank, it will say available hours. Now, if you chose days, it will say available days, and this is how your employees will know how much available hours or days they have left on their bank. Now, when you select to do a calendar entry, of course you'll be selecting the employee, reason, a start and end date, and of course, whatever time you have set up as a default for the worked hours, it will show there. If you notice, it shows 8 hours is our default hours.
Of course, you're free to change that. So when you're doing an absence, it defaults to what you set it to default to, but you are welcome to change that as you need it.
Now, our next preference is our time off plans. Now, I'm going to first speak about our members that have a core and flex track. Now, once you click on time off plan, you'll go ahead and see that you have the ability to choose your start of your benefit year and select if this bank has a carryover. Now, mind you, the 3 options that we gave you for benefit year will be calendar year, which will run January 1st to December 31st. Fiscal year, pretty much you can select any start and date, and also your employee's anniversary date. Here's an example of how a core and flex track members employees time off bank would look like. If you notice on the PTO bank, it shows you your benefit year, which is calendar year that we showed you in the example before, and of course you have the options to enter their allowed time for the year. There's no carryover, so of course it will not show carryovers.
So that available days and used, well, in this example we chose to track by days instead of hours, but that would all recalculate. It says calendar year on January 1st, that allowance all refreshes. If they haven't used any, the available days starts over.
Now we get into our PowerTrack and PowerTrack Plus members. Our PowerTrack Plus and PowerTrack members have the option to set up an accrual plan or an annual time off plan. By clicking Add New Plan, you have the option to enter a plan name, a short, quick name that you'll be able to see clearly is better, like PTO full-time.
Something that's very obvious. Let me just say, use something that's very obvious so that when you're in an employee profile and you're going to assign it, you're going to remember what bank it belongs to and the type of person that it goes with. Make it very obvious.
And also on the description you have, that's an optional, but it just helps you describe which plan are you speaking about. Now you do have the option to have an accrual start date, to schedule your time for your employees, a benefit year start, and also the options to carry over. We also gave you ability to go ahead and select whether this bank has a max balance. You have the options to either have a no limit or limit to a certain number of hours. Now, if your employees have been working there in your company for many years, you don't have to create new plans. Just create new levels. As you see in my example here, once this employee reaches 3 years from their hire date, they gain more time.
So that accrual start date is when an employee is eligible to start earning. Some companies will let an employee start earning time off from the day they start. Some companies have a waiting period. And again, like Alex was saying, you can step people up. If your business allows people to earn more at a higher rate as they earn years of service, as they've been working there longer, you can set this plan up to increase that way. And so that scheduling really says how often do they earn, how much do they earn, and when do they earn. And you'll see when you go in there that you do have a number of options. And I want to say now, let you know that we do have a full-length webinar. We recognize that accruals, time off plans can be pretty complex, and there are a lot of different variations that we see businesses have. If you want some advice, by the way, from our experts, our HR experts here, we'll tell you how to get in touch with a customer success coach and give you some tips on how to simplify your time off plan at your business to make it much more easy to understand for your employees. But there is, in the Help Center, a full-length webinar on how to set up your accrual plan. So we're not going to go into too much detail now.
Here's an example of how a PowerTrack or PowerTrack Plus member's time off plan will look like. You see that the bank is PTO, the time off plan name that we created or that we entered is there. Next is our record keeping fields. Here you can choose any combination of record keeping fields to add to your employee's profile. Now we do understand that a lot of companies don't use the same record keeping fields, so we do give you the option to select the selections that we have here for you. Work week and overtime. Here, these settings are defined on how time is displayed and calculated within your employee's timesheet. If your first work week of the day starts on a Sunday, like our example here, you will select Sunday or any date that your work week starts. Here, you also have the option to enter when your weekly overtime starts. Now, please remember that under FLSA, overtime must be calculated on a work week basis. However, there's exceptions may apply, and we always suggest to click on the Learn More button so you can read more about it. Here also you have the ability to enter your timesheet method, whether it be you want an in and out timesheet or a worked hours timesheet. Here's an example of a worked hours timesheet that I've created. It shows my start date, which is Sunday of every week, and ends on a Saturday. I have entered my worked hours Monday through Friday, and I also work some overtime on Saturday. If you notice, it does give me my regular hours that I worked, and my total hours, and also how many hours of overtime that I worked this week.
And the other version, the in-out, would have, instead of one column for total hours, would have in-out times with an AM, PM selection. It would be 4 columns across that would show you what time in, what time out, break, what time in, what time out.
Now, this is the time that we'll go ahead and jump into TrackSmart scheduling. These settings are more detailed than our attendance app, but I'm here to help you with these. Once you log into your account, you'll see that your settings are on the top right-hand corner. You can go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring you to your settings page. The first settings that we'll be seeing today will be your organ schedule. Here, if you signed up for a free trial and entered a test name and test phone number, here you're able to update your account. Also, you have the option to go ahead and see who can send these emails to the staff. You can either have the admins and managers only, or just the admins. What schedules can an employee see? They can see only their locations, or they can see all locations. Here's an example of how a schedule would look like after you adjusted the settings there. If you notice that my work week does start on a Sunday, ends on a Saturday. Now, for our scheduling members that have the TimeClock features, I won't get too much into detail about this feature right now, but because we do have our TrackSmart TimeClock members, and that I'll be talking more in detail about this and their features. But right now, you can see that you have the option to set up your TimeClock settings, to set up who's managing your time records and the terminals. But again, we'll talk about this in a little bit once we get to our TimeClock app. Now, if you're in scheduling, you do have the TimeClock feature. You can go ahead and by clicking on TimeClock, you can see that you have the clock in button to select a location, and can see your most recent clock in records. Our next settings for TrackSmart Schedule is your overtime and max hour settings. Here, these are defaults. You can still set your max hours employee by employee in the employees area. Here, we give you the option to enter the max hours the employees can work. How can you calculate overtime? We give you the option to either select daily or weekly. And if your company does use it, you could calculate overtimes at the second rate.
So you see scheduling when it comes to overtime is just a little more flexible than attendance, but we are working on that, and hopefully we'll be able to give you more options on that overtime in the future sometime next year.
Here's an example in the employee profile where you can locate where you can enter your max scheduled hours. Our next setting is swaps and open shift. Now, this is one of the questions that our reps get every day from members saying, hey, I didn't allow my employees to swap. I didn't allow my employees to take open shift. How come they're able to do so? The reason is because of this default page. Now, once you start an account with scheduling, you'll see that we default to this section. Now, if you don't want your employees to swap shifts with each other, or you don't want them to pick open shift, or to offer up their shift, this is the page where you will have to do all these adjustments to.
We have defaulted you so that you can get started right away without having to go into your settings to get started scheduling. We kind of chose the most frequently used settings for all these areas to make it quick and easy for you. But taking the time to go through these all will make it more fitting to your business needs. So go ahead and go through these one by one and make sure you have it checked the way your business needs.
I just want to show you an example of if you do allow your employees to swap and pick up open shift, how it would look like. If you notice, here an employee can either offer up their shift, they can swap this shift with somebody else. Here is also a way, if you click on Find an Open Shift on the dashboard, you can view all the open shifts that are available. So an employee can come in and select the shift that they can work. But remember, please advise your employees that once they select or take a shift from this section, they are responsible for that shift.
That setting was whether it will be automatically approved or needs to be approved. That previous screen we talked.
That's correct. Now our next setting is our locations departments. Create locations or departments within your account. For example, if you have multiple stores, create one for each location. If you're a large organization like a hotel, you can create different departments for your business like housekeeping, maintenance, restaurant. In my example here, I created a sunrise office location, a New Jersey location, and an off-site work job, which is job 41. Here's an example where you can go ahead and also apply these locations for your employees. Here's an employee profile page here where you can select where can this employee work. Here you can select or deselect the ones that this employee can or cannot work. In the schedule, if you take a look on the top left-hand corner, you'll also be able to see all the locations that you have created. Now, this is also a time-saving area because, of course, if you want to do multiple schedules, you can toggle from each location, create a schedule, and you can also see who shift or if your schedule is covered. Our next setting is positions. For positions, you can go ahead and add new positions. And for my example, I have a customer service, driver, cook. You can put whatever positions your company has. I will show you right now where to select these permissions for your employees. The employee profile page on the bottom right hand, you can select which position this employee can work. Here you select all these positions. Now please remember that if you create a shift that has a certain position attached to it, if this employee does not have that position checked off, that employee cannot work that shift. It won't allow them to appear on the employee list for that shift. Our next setting is your break rules. Please remember, break rules should closely follow the labor laws in your state, country, or municipality. In my example here, I went ahead and entered for every 8-hour schedule, an employer can receive 30 paid break minutes. Now, I understand that not all companies have this, so we actually gave you the option that you could actually test your rules before you set them up. Now we're going into our TrackSmart TimeClock app. And remember that part where I told you that we'll be getting more depth or more detail about the TimeClock feature? This is where we're going to go ahead and do so. Now when you first click in the TimeClock feature, you can go ahead and select TimeClock settings. Mind you that this is a defaulted time clock that you see here. I went ahead and selected the time clock is enabled because I want my employees to clock in and clock out through the time clock feature. Now, if your company does not allow that because you have other means, meaning timesheets or anything, then of course disable that. You have the options for managing time records. You have the options where the employees can either edit their time records or they can go ahead and add time records manually. Now, many employers don't like when employees can edit their own time records because, of course, it would lead into something else. And of course, you can actually select who can improve your time records, which would be admins or admins and managers. In my example, I just selected admins. Now, our time terminal section is one that a lot of members like to use because they want to go ahead and have a specific time station where her employees can clock in, whether it be a desktop, a laptop, or a tablet. All you have to do is go log into your account from that desktop, tablet, or laptop, and enter a name, and click on the button which says set this computer as the time terminal. What's going to happen is that your IP address will be saved, and then the employees can only log in from that computer, laptop, or tablet. Now, please remember that once you go ahead and set a time terminal, the options to clock in from the mobile phones will be disabled, and they can no longer clock in from their mobile app.
So you only need this time terminal if you do not want employees logging in from anywhere else, from their own desktop computer, from home, from mobile. That's the only reason you would use the terminal, is that they must clock in from the single station. By the way, I think we glazed over generate time records from the schedule. You may have noticed here that there are certain plans on TrackSmart scheduling which have TimeClock features as an add-on, and there's certain plans on TrackSmart TimeClock that have the scheduling. So that will allow you to say, okay, generate their time off records based on the schedule you set up. That's what that is about.
And again, I want to stress this. Please, whenever you make changes to your settings, always click Save. The reason why is because if you update something or you change one of the settings, if you don't click on Save, it doesn't get applied.
Seems like an obvious answer, but you won't believe how many times it's just a matter of somebody thought they did it but didn't save it.
Exactly. Another look at the time clock feature once it's clicked on by the admin or the employee. Here, of course, the employee or the admin or the manager has the option to clock in. They can select the location department that they want to clock into. Also remember that by just clicking on the down arrow, they can select different locations or departments that they can actually clock in from. An example, if I work at the Sunrise office today, but tomorrow I need to clock in at my New Jersey office, I can select that location or department from there. On the bottom, you can see my recent clock-in records from my Sunrise office, the date, the clock in and clock out, and of course the length of how much I worked there.
They would only have in that list the ones that their profile says they are allowed to work at. Okay, so that's it for our settings walkthrough, settings and preferences. Before we move into the Q&A portion of the webinar, we want to let you know that we're not just interested in supporting you as our customer. We are committed to your success. You've got customer success coaches at your disposal. Whether you've got a question or several questions or would like someone to walk you through the right settings for your business needs, these guys are happy to help, and not just by chat or email, but you are welcome to call. You can call a TrackSmart Customer Success Coach at the number you see on the screen, 877-457-4855, or email us at this email address. We'll be emailing out the contact information too, so if you don't have a pen and paper handy, don't worry about it, you'll get it. Okay, and by the way, if you want to browse or search through commonly asked questions and topics, we do have a help center available 24/7. You'll also find an archive of past webinars that can help you make the most of your accounts that are in more specific topics, like I mentioned, those accruals. And in the Help Center, you also have a community. The TrackSmart member community is a forum filled with questions and answers, ideas, suggestions, and more from one of our best resources, the folks using TrackSmart apps every day. We encourage you to visit the community, share what's working for you, or which enhancements you'd like to see us add. If there's something you feel that would help you that TrackSmart doesn't offer today, let us know. Post it there. Maybe other people have the same needs, and the more people we hear from, the higher a priority it becomes for us. Believe it or not, the majority of the features you see on TrackSmart came from our customers telling us that's what they need. That's it for our end of the presentation, and we're ready for some Q&A. We'll get started taking the questions that have already come in, and if you still have any, please send them through the chat box on the left. If we do not get to your question during this session, a customer success coach will follow up with you within the next day or so. So let's look at what's waiting for us. Okay, our first question. We have vacation, sick, and personal time, but the employee can use the total number of hours or days as they wish. Is there any problem simply giving them a total of all three as PTO? Not from our view. As a matter of fact, here at our company, that's all we've got is PTO. We just use the one bank. So it actually makes life a lot easier for us, and we probably would have our HR experts agree. That was an easy one. Thank you. Next question. How do you set up a calendar year plan in PowerTrack similar to the one in Core and FlexTrack? We have PowerTrack, but our plan is not an accrual plan. It runs on a calendar year. Take that, Alex.
Yeah, that's one of the easy ones actually. Normally, when setting up an accrual or annual plan is gets kind of long, but since this isn't the easy one, because you want to set something up just like your core and FlexRide plan, all you really have to do is um, when it says set your schedule, all you're really doing is saying annual, and of course how much time to get annual. So instead of saying, okay, you're getting time weekly or monthly, they're getting their time every year, which is their annual. All you have to do is enter the option for annual, enter the time, and that's what you have to do.
And we are happy to walk you through it. Heck, if you want to call a customer success coach, I'm sure they'd set it up for you. It's real easy. Next question. Is there a way to block dates that I don't want an employee to request?
The way that I would recommend this for our members to do is to put an event. Put it in the calendar as an event as dates that employees cannot take. Once you put an event, put notes there. Once the employee clicks on that company event, it would show their notes saying, hey, these dates are marked off or X'd off or
Right. Alex is referring to TrackSmart Attendance in the calendar. When your employee has self-service and you've given them visibility to the calendar, if you put in a company event called, other, and you put in your notes, no time off allowed, employees should be able to see that. So while it does not create that blackout date, as it's called, it will bring it to their visibility and to the supervisor's visibility as they are considering whether to approve it, or the administrator, when they're approving it, they will see that, but it does not prevent them from requesting it. Is there anything like that on scheduling or time clock?
For scheduling, no. Or if you have the TimeClock app and then you also have the ability to run the scheduling, not at this time.
You might want to put that on the wall as a notification, or email your staff and let them know ahead of time. Maybe you have a shift blocked out that nobody can take time off, that it's called no time off.
Yeah, I actually had a member give me this idea and how she would enter it. She would enter as a shift, and she would literally call the shift blackout date. That's how her employees would know that they cannot take that day off.
If you haven't seen that or posted in the community, that is a great idea. We have heard about it, and we do have it on our list, but it might be something you want to chat with other community members about and see how they're handling it. Next question. Are you able to hide inactive employees?
I presume you're speaking about TrackSmart Attendance. There is the ability to hide employees. I don't know where exactly you're asking where you want to hide them. Normally when you go into your directory, you will see your active member. They'll be more bolded, and the ones that are inactive, they're a little bit grayed out. In the employees list also, you'll see that those members are grayed out and not available.
And in the calendar, they don't appear on the list anymore once they are inactive.
That is correct.
But you know what? We can follow up with you directly and see what your objective is and what you're specifically looking for. So we'll just make a note here to have a customer success coach get in touch with you, or send us number and time you'd like us to reach out, and we'll take care of that. Any other questions? Oh, we've got a fresh one. Hi, we only have the plan of FlexTrack. Does this plan provide bank hours or days for employees in TrackSmart so that we can track their bank hours for future use? Not sure if I'm clear. Hours. I know I've once heard a company talk about hours in reserves. If you are not using all 4 banks, whatever bank you're not using, you may want to designate for that. You should be able to FlexTrack by the first version of that time off plan we talked about, that you can give an allowance. Let me see if I can find that page for you quick. There's the time off plan. This is setting up how the benefit year works and whether they can carry over. You can assign different benefit years to different types of banks. And then when you're in the employee's profile, there is a time off plans tab of their profile where you would designate their allowance to the banks that you use for the year, and then it'll calculate based on absences in the calendar. That's what's remaining. Now this math is a little off because you do not see that we have probably made an adjustment to the bank to add in time from before the previous year. This customer must have started and they have a 50-hour allowance, they get 50 days off, nice. 50 days off a year in this example, and they happen to have 31 that they started with before they started TrackSmart. That's a hypothetical why these numbers are kind of funky. Hopefully that might help you out. I'm hoping that answers your question. If not, please call customer success. Operators are standing by. Okay, operator's not standing by. I'll tell you who's standing by. These three guys. And there's the number. Any other questions? I don't think so. We've got some that might be a little more specific, and we'll have customer success. These customer success coaches get in touch with you. And I think that is, oh, look at that, a new one. Does it clear out available days when the anniversary comes up? Yeah.
This is a TrackSmart Attendance question. I'll say,
it's on carryover.
Yeah, it will clear out on your anniversary date. Right. Well, again, it also depends on how you started your benefit year.
Right. If your benefit year is anniversary date and there is no carryover allowed, then it would clear it all out.
That's on I remember that's on the core track and flex track plan. Right. If you have in a power track plan, of course, it'll just your anniversary date would just clear out your used time. And if you have no carryover, then it'll go ahead and
it would clear everything out for available. Right. If you have no carryover allowed, it refreshes at the start of the benefit year that you've set up. A couple more minutes if you have any more questions. Oh, got one more. How can I make it start over with original hours? All right, Alex, that one's yours.
I presume you're speaking about TrackSmart Attendance. You're meaning how can I make it start with original hours? Of course, I will have to find out exactly what plan you have, whether it be core track, flex track, or power track. Go from there. I will have one of our customer success team contact you so they can get that information for you. If say example you are using power track, and you want to make it start with your original hours, all you have to really do is just unassign your plan that you had attached to your time bank and recalculate. What's going to happen is going to remove all that time that was earned. If you have time from your flex track or core track, all you really have to do is just remove the allowance time, and it'll remove whatever time is there for that allowance time for the year, and also make an adjustment for it.
Right. I wanted to mention for a different interpretation of the question, if you are starting out for the first time and you need a starting balance, then you would make an adjustment. You'll see that in the back, and let me go back to that. Is this it? Here, that there is make an adjustment. Oh, sorry. No, this is right. In the, oh, this is the setup. Sorry about that. Where am I? That was right?
Yeah.
I was in the right place?
That's correct. What she was showing you is you're just making an adjustment by clicking on Make an Adjustment link in the Employee Profile and the Time Off Plan tab.
Right, so that's a good way to start. So, you know, a lot of companies will set up the allowance for what's left over. They come into TrackSmart Attendance and they start in the middle of the year, so they make their allowance what they have left over. But what happens is at the start of the benefit year, that's all they'll be allowed, where really it should be double that amount. So that shouldn't be, don't use the allowance field as your starting balance. Use the adjustment to create your starting balance of available days, and then put your annual allowance in there. Again, with Core and FlexTrack, you're putting everything in there all at once for the year. That's the difference from the accruals that's provided with the PowerTrack and PowerTrack Plus plans. That earns over time, so it's not all available in the employee's bank on day one of the benefit year. And if you need to, if you want to talk to a customer success coach about changing to PowerTrack so that you can get those accruals, if that's what you need, they're happy to help. They might even have a little discount they can give you. I'm trying to say it not and say it quietly. They might have a discount for you if you'd like to switch to PowerTrack. Next question. That's not a question. That's an answer. Okay. We're happy to help if anybody's got a question. If anybody's got questions about preferences or settings or what can this do or not do. Really, I'm going to bring the slide up again while we're in here because this seems to be one of the biggest customer support questions we get, or complaints. It shouldn't be able to do this. Well, you guys can prevent it from doing this. This is if you're on scheduling or TrackSmart scheduling or TimeClock. So when do you want to get notified? If somebody's taking an open shift, do you need an approval? No, don't let them take shifts, and let them offer shifts. It's very common that somebody can be frustrated that this is happening and not even be aware of it. Like we're out of questions, am I right? Okay. Well, I appreciate all you guys hanging in there till the end, and we are still happy to take any questions you have. Send it, call us, or send it to this email address. You also can find it, you can find a link to this at the top of either website, how to reach our support people, bottom of the website. And on TrackSmart Attendance, there is a live chat at the bottom right of the screen. Figure 9 to 5, Monday through Friday as well, if you don't want to talk to these guys.
That's Eastern Standard Time.
Sorry, Eastern Standard Time. So, that's it for now. Thank you all, and until next time, happy tracking.